Hello and welcome to another jungle video, and in this one we are going to be having a look at how you can be everywhere on the map, have that high kill participation, but also basically get 1 kill a minute while maintaining your CS advantage and having high kill participation. Now you might think, well wait a second, isn't that kind of ridiculous to do all of those things at once? And I'm going to tell you that yes it is. But it should always be your goal as a jungler to strive to match these metrics. Sometimes you will gank more, will have higher risk, and therefore your CS PM, your CS per minute, will be way lower. Other times you might be forced to farm a bit more, scale a bit more, get 9 CS a minute, and perhaps have a lower kill participation. Obviously these are more extremes of the styles, but our goal should always be to be able to fuse these things and create the perfect jungle game plan, as we should always chase the ability to be the best jungler. But before I dip into my bag of secret plans and clever tricks, Rast has a message.
Do you hate revealing your location and broadcasting your every move? Do you have an annoying version of yourself from which you would like eternal peace and isolation? Then Rast recommends NordVPN. No data logging so you can practice without trace and also protect your data while traveling in the public domain. Super rapid server so you can queue faster than a high elo streamer tilts and add up to 6 simultaneous connections for maximum DPS. With your ability to unlock your favorite entertainment websites and watch global VODs, the double data encryption increases anonymity. And this is how I forever destroyed Kane from disturbing my quest for domination of the multiverse. Nord comes with 24/7 customer support, 30-day money-back guarantee, and with an automatic kill switch. Click the link in the description below for 70% off NordVPN using nordvpn.com/Virkayu.
And as we jump into the game, we have a Lee Sin versus a Lilia. And if you do like the layout on all the runes and effects and so on, please do consider leaving a like and of course subscribing to the channel as you watch FPX Tian go against this D4 Lilia. And again, you're going to be telling me, well wait a second, that's a skill discrepancy. Exactly. The problem with a lot of the challenger games that we cover and other sort of high elo games that you spectate is that you're not really seeing a game state that you guys might recognize from your own games. As soon as we take a challenger jungler and we slap them into a lower MMR game, you get a good concept of how good they really are, because they're exploiting holes and gaps that are available in every single one of your games, but that you miss and don't really capitalize on. Therefore, as we finish the first clear, you will notice he has skipped his blue buff. The skipping of the blue buff is becoming quite a common thing for certain clears and specific junglers that enjoy maybe a gore drinker and don't exactly need the mana. And in actuality, even if you do need the mana, the Grump giveth back the HP and the blue swords just for your first gang. It also means you can slingshot your XP significantly more with the edge camp rather than a buff. But what the f does that mean, Kobe Bryant? Slingshotting your XP means taking a priority camp early so that it respawns as soon as possible with a higher level and therefore more experience. If this is a Grump or a Krugs camp, that is significantly more value to those junglers who will not be AFK farming. Therefore, you take a Grump, you ignore the blue, you go gank, you get a crab, maybe you reset, maybe you just don't even show up around the blue buff at all for a while, but by the time you do get back there, you've got a Grump there at level 5, giving you significantly more experience, whereas if you did the blue into the gank, you'd have simply nothing, because that thick blue sentinel has a respawn timer of 5 minutes. Yes, it is weird to kind of see how you would skip a buff instead of doing the full 6 camp, especially when it's a blue, but if you don't clear as fast as the enemy jungler and you want to maintain tempo advantage, it's very good to leave a camp and just do a 5 camper. Move to the mid lane, take the crab, gank on the mid lane before the Lilia has finished her full clear plus the bottom side crab, and now you can move on down, hit the plant to see what's going on, and if you see bottom lane as a prime ganking location, commit to this. Don't immediately look at your camps. You just make good things happen. You know Lilia is going to go back to base and sequence her second tier Krugs or second tier Raptors. Simply execute a gank on the bottom lane, or in this case, as you can see, low HP, overcommitting, overstaying, we punish that as well. And as he goes back to base, remember, an average doesn't necessarily mean you're getting literally a kill every single minute. If you score 5 kills in the first minute and do nothing else for the next 4, you still averaged a kill a minute. Same thing for the CS, so it's all about how it works out in the end. Our average will shift and change over the course of the game. And now you recognize that Lee Sin isn't going to the top Grump. That second spawn will not have happened yet. Yes, the blue buff is available, but the Lee Sin Tian has recognized, I need to make sure I'm ganking everywhere and feeling like I'm everywhere on the map at any given moment. I need to make the Lilia feel like she has to do something, panics, and it corrupts her entire game plan. So he takes a second tier Raptor spawn, which is of course exactly what we want to do to get level 5. Now, as I've always acknowledged, ganking is highly risky sometimes. You simply don't get the payoff. Tries bottom lane, it's warded, they back off, it's pretty obvious. Don't now fall back to your Krugs and cry. You know full well that the Lilia is doing a full sequence down to the bottom lane, so let's run through the river, control our swamp, get to the mid lane, gank the Yasuo again, push the wave, we get level 6. In the meantime, you would have noticed that Lilia did what was very much predicted and ganked the bottom lane after a second full sequence. interactive. Take the 1v1 fight if you can and if you desire. Make sure you use your ultimate appropriately. If it doesn't look good, simply back out. If everyone goes back to base and you have the laner prio, yes, you can try and sneak the dragon, but if everyone's dead, they're going to be respawning before your team. Don't greed it. You can simply fall back to your red buff, that's obvious, the Lilia is going to do the same, but here's the difference between junglers who want to seem everywhere and get 1 kill a minute as well as high CSPM versus things like the Lilia, which are your typical low diamond junglers. And yes, it's very much worse in platinum and it's very much worse in gold, and it gets worse as you go down. Do not think you can flame a D4 jungler if you are not D4, because 99% of the time you do the exact same mistakes more frequently. Because the Anivia has a slight tempo advantage due to the shenanigans in the bottom lane, she decides to go and gank in the mid lane. Immediately, look at the rotation by the Thresh, look at the rotation by the Lee Sin. We are going to this fight, we are going to clean it up and take an all-out brawl. Both top laners are going to be involved in the footage you're seeing, but watch very carefully the Lilia for this duration. Red, Krugs, Raptors. This is the difference in junglers who are seemingly everywhere and simply better than the other jungler, because they do not get ahead of the action, they do not see the action and react to it. They cannot farm, gank every lane, look for dragons, track the enemy jungler, and rotate to it. It's too many things to do at once, which is why experience is so important for juggling, but at the same time it does take an active mind to say, listen, the Krugs will be there, let me go and help my team. Now we're 5-0-1, we fall back to the Raptors again. I did a full video on why this Raptor camp is so valuable. If you keep taking it like this, I'll link that below. It's really one of the best ways to maximize experience. But now the Lee Sin can go back to base, spend his gold. You see the Lilia getting a cleanup kill on the Aurelia, she moves to the top side. There is a distinct possibility that she's taking your blue side. We know Yasuo has a bit of prior right now. She could simply be doing the Herald. So we move to our top side, we see our camps are available, but the Lilia in classic fashion is not interested in objectives, she's not interested in counter jungling, she is just interested in farming. These type of junglers, as I mentioned in the intro, will not have any interest in fighting. They will have not any interest in objectives and ganking. So their farming is good, they might do a lot of damage in those fights, but they're not getting laners ahead. They're not actually contributing to the win state of the game, and therefore they don't have this whole, kill per minute super farm giga carry mode. The Lee Sin sees the heralds available, says don't mind if I do. Basically, by extension of the Lilia not being here and coming from the top side to kill the Aurelia, we know she's 100% on the dragon. Now obviously the Lilia is going to do the dragon and then look to counter jungle, which again is the value of those chicken McNuggets in your jungle. Because the Lee Sin took it before basing, they're not available to be counter jungled. The Lilia is spotted on a control ward and will clear that. All the while Lee Sin goes mid, kills the Yasuo once more, has a herald for maximum platings, activates that bad boy. We know that Lilia is going to be in the blue side jungle falling back after the dragon to defend that. So what Lee Sin does is say, you know what? Nothing is available other than my Krugs, so I'm gonna go and secure those stones. And if Lilia decides to gank bottom lane and dive it after the blue side clearings, I will be there for a prime counter gank. This is the kind of map read that separates again the Lilia from the best in the world. This is what stops you from simply being this kind of jungler in your games, because you're not thinking actively, what does the enemy jungler want to do? And how can I put a stop to that game plan and destroy their dreams? The same way Riot destroys our dreams every year, we don't get another Void champion. Although I think we might be getting one next year. If the enemy jungler doesn't go for the dive, spotted on a ward and backs out, commit to the fight, snatch yourself a kill. The mid lane and the jungler rotate to goon squad you. Simply at this point you have to use your lead. You have to use your mechanical skill set and you have to understand your champion. Now it really helps if you're so damn good at the game that you have a skin on the champion you're currently playing because you have been immortalized. You simply have to continue to improve that aspect of your game, because decision making only goes so far. You can easily carry with macro, you can easily kill with your brain, but if you choose the wrong target, if you take the wrong fight because you do not know your damage output and limitations, you will lose these leads. If you played this badly, instead of having 10 kills, 0 deaths, and 1 assist, you give them shutdowns, you give them plates, you give them by extension further objectives and other ganking pressure. And again, let's put this bluntly, if you're in Diamond 4 or below, and you're playing against a skill set of whatever rank you have, you should, if you want to climb, be able to be better than those players in this particular situation. You don't have to be Tian versus a bunch of diamonds. You don't have to be Tian against other pro players. But if you're simply gold, you have to be able to be better than the average gold player mechanically and with regards to decision making. And as you can see here, the Lilia is not having the best decision making process. There isn't one. It's simply cookie cutter clearings and ganking is around ultimate, maybe looking for an objective. It's not dynamic. There's no adaptation. And as Lee Sin snacks on his Raptors, goes back to base and then goes to the top side once more. This is literally what I talked about on my gameplay channel last week on the Virkayu video. I literally talked about how you can track junglers when they do random things, when they do incorrect things, because that's always the problem, yes? Most junglers don't do what they should be doing or what the textbook tells them. They do random things. And so in that video with Virkayu, I showed you how to take this bad information and turn it around, have reactive tracking. So look at that video if you were trying to tell me here that you couldn't track the Lilia because in your elo, she would do random things. That's nonsense and you know it. Well, you've been mid, you've been bot lane, you've gotten a herald, you have plates. Let's do a full clear and gank the top lane. Remember the video title, a kill a minute and be everywhere all the time. And now the enemy mid laner rotates as well. So you've been telling me or thinking this whole video, oh wait a second, his Aurelia rotated, his Rise is good. Yeah, but the Yasuo is rotated to the bottom lane now and to the top lane, and both times he has destroyed him, and that's because he's really fed because he's been doing everything that we've been talking about. And now obviously we need to step it up a little bit. Take the tower, push the waves, cut if you need to. If you want to give place to the Aurelia because it's pre-14, do so. Move into the enemy jungle, counter jungle, kill anyone who happens to roam in your space without consent. And again, the whole point of the foundation of this video is to get fed, so when these things do happen as you transition to the mid game, you just have total control. You can take over the jungle, you can cut waves, you farm everything that they have, and even though our CS per minute was dipping because we were fighting and being in every lane all the time, now you can catch that up and bring that average up as I mentioned. And yes, that's 14 kills in 13 minutes, so hopefully most of you are capable of that division. Once you've probed their entire jungle, you see nothing's up, you know the dragon is spawning. Ideally, we do want to reset, spend that gold, to make sure we're there for the objective, there for the herald as well, ping-ponging everything as much as possible. I do advise that for most of you. However, you can simply look to do your red and stay out, knowing people are going to force fights thinking you've gone back to base. Just bear in mind to play very safely, don't give away free shutdowns if you don't need to. Even if you have the gold lead, say you have a 5k gold lead for your team, if you have 3k in pocket and haven't spent it, but everyone on their team has spent it, you only really have an effective 2k gold lead, so it's really not as big as you might think and feel if you stay out too long. Whether you backed intentionally or against your will, decide your next moves out of base. Do we want a red side into dragon? Do we want to take blue side and then maybe invade and cut off? Again, if you're 1v9ing a game and having a kill a minute, most of the time you can afford to have yourself a little bit of fun. And as you watch Lee Sin enjoy said fun, just please remember, in games that are a little bit closer and with teammates who are a bit more erratic and don't exactly have the skill set that you might be seeing in this one or in your challenge or Twitch streams, giving your team those objectives and tower pushes is the most important. However, please keep in mind to always move the map forward. You have a huge lead. If you cut their jungle off from them, if you have vision control, every time they invade you kill them, you push the towers. Notice what they're doing. Pushing towers, pushing towers. If someone overcommits, kill them. If someone is detached, kill them. And this is going to be worse in low elo because they're not going to have any sort of idea of how to group and play from behind to this level. So you can continually deny while pushing the map forward, and you really don't have to do the herald. You really don't have to do the dragon. Now you can either just push to end and stay out and enjoy the game, especially if they've given up, or you can always fall back to the dragon, reset, and repeat the process. And just for context, I have done a video on how to close out specifically with more tight macro. I will link that below for any early game junglers that might be struggling in that arena, but I will look to maybe make one for next week showing you what not to do and why most of you who get these 5 kill, 6 kill leads early end up actually throwing your games. But there you have it, good tracking, good rotation, good farming, a kill a minute for our legendary championship Lee Sin player. Obviously this is a bit of a mismatch, but in this case it does show you a lot of educational value in striving to be a better jungler, in striving to actually exploit the mistakes of your enemies, and it isn't your typical Smurf content, at least I hope so. Please do like, share, and comment if you did enjoy and learn something. Don't forget to subscribe for all the content coming very soon. Keep those beards fresh and waxed on a per minute basis, and as always I will see you all in the next tutorial.